Guys, how's it going? Welcome to this week's recap video. I'm very thankful to be here in the studio where we have air conditioning because it's been a very hot week. I remember doing these recap videos, sitting outside, like mopping up sweat between like questions because we didn't have a space like this, and you just kind of forget that like this is a huge blessing to have this space. It's been a hot week. Yesterday it was 108. Today is 104 or 105, right around in there.
Cooling down though, like in the 80s. The 10-day.
I think we're gonna have 2 nights that are gonna be pretty windy because each one of those nights we have a 10-degree drop. So we drop 10 degrees and then we stay there for 2 days, like at the low 90s, and then we have another big drop, almost 10 degrees to the low 80s. So that usually means anything like 8-degree drop and above. I kind of expect a lot of wind. So. I mean, not complaining because we have not had a bad season at all in terms of wind or heat. It's been a really wonderful year. So thankful for that. You guys, today's recap video is sponsored by Nature's Willow, who I have talked about quite a lot because I've tried out their stuff. In fact, my mom introduced me to their stuff maybe a year, 2 years, I don't know, it's been a while ago. They are a company that makes plant-based pain relief and itch relief sort of products like creams, patches, that sort of thing. And there was one product that I hadn't really thoroughly tried out until this summer, and that was their bug bite patch. And they're like little round clear dots that if you get a mosquito bite, you put that little patch on and it just takes the itch out. It just relieves the itch. In fact, Benjamin comes and finds me. He says, "Mom, I need a patch." He knows that if he puts one of those on, it's just going to take away. If you can get past that itchy phase, so you don't end up with a bunch of scabs all over the place, that's amazing. So I'm really happy with that. Now, Nature's Willow, we will link their company down below if you want to check them out. I think it's a willow bark and helichrysum kind of based. Every product's a little bit different, but I love kind of reading those ingredient lists. I'm like, which of these plants do I have out in my garden? But they put together a bundle. It's a pain relief bundle and an itch relief bundle. And if you buy this bundle, which is usually like $95, they're pricing it at like $45. If you buy the pain relief bundle, they'll send you the itch relief bundle for free. So you can try out all the products.
Is that like over 50% off?
53% off.
Wow.
And then also, if you just have like one product you love, because I really like the pain relieving cream, that's the one I use the most often, there's a subscribe and save 15% option at checkout. So anyway, we'll link them down below. Nature's Willow, thank you so much for responding to the sponsoring this week's recap video. First video this week was the Cut Flower Garden Workday with my sister Monica, and she just called me and said that she wanted to volunteer to come work for a day with me, which was so amazing. I loved it.
Was it kind of a thank you for the earlier in the season? Because we did a little makeover in her garden, which I'm still set to go out there. I do have a trellis that Gardener Supply sent out, as well as like they sent out some fun like kneeling pad and shovels and stuff like that for her. So we'll take those things over. Their grass, I think they've mowed it once. I kind of wanted to wait till the grass was up a little bit and a little bit thicker so you guys could see more of an after. What did they get for a mower? Did they get electric mower or
I'm not
a gas
sure.
one? I was kind of curious because it's such a small area.
Yeah, I didn't ask. But we'll get all the details and we'll see how everything has fared here very soon. But anyway, she wanted to come and just do a thank you work day, which was great. So we just did kind of easy things. It was hot though, so things don't feel as easy when it's hot, but we deadheaded the dahlias. We pulled out some spent flower crops out there. That was basically what the day entailed, but we did harvest some fresh tomatoes, basil, and garlic from the garden. We had bruschetta for lunch, which was so good. And then a storm kind of came upon us right when we were finishing. It was weird. I was doing the ending tour, whatever, at the very, very end, and then just a big gust of wind came up and the clouds just kind of rolled in really fast. So we rushed out to the potato patch. We dug up some German butterball potatoes and we made French fries and hand-dipped corn dogs. It was so fun. First question is from Martha. When you pick flowers from your garden for flower arrangement, do you soak them in something to get the insects off? I typically don't. Any arrangement I have made this year, like to even bring in my own house, I have dunked just because we've had the thrifts this year. In fact, I don't even know if I'm going to do a free flower day this year because I just want to make sure those thrifts are well in hand. They definitely are dwindling out there, but I do not want to give buggy flowers away. And we just don't have the time to dip every single flower for those types of arrangements because it's an intensive process, especially if you're doing it on that scale. I mean, you have to dip the flowers and then shake off all the water, and then they're a little bit harder to manage and sometimes you don't get all the bugs. So I don't really want our name attached to any flowers that are leaving this property that have bugs in them. So anyway, we're just kind of playing that by ear, but I think it's well worth it to skip that day to have all the experimentation we're getting with the predatory mites. I think leaning in on figuring out how to take care of our insect problem naturally instead of having to use sprays, it feels so good, you guys. The amount of pollinators out there, it's wild. It's wild this year. It's fun when you walk out there and you can hear them all, you can see all the movement and activity, and you're kind of like, not I did that, but kind of like, yeah. I helped this process come about because I'm not doing anything to harm them or to keep them away. It's a good feeling. I feel good about it. I feel better about that than I do about giving away the flowers, honestly.
Do you think that in future years, maybe we will buy like a couple times throughout the season those canisters and just shake them out ourselves? Yeah, you can absolutely apply them yourselves. So you don't have to use the drone. I just thought that would be pretty cool to watch that go down. In fact, they texted me not long ago, like last week or something, just kind of rehashing the video, and they said we've got lots of cool things we can try out, like let's connect, and if you've got soil issues or like any nematodes or whatever you're dealing with in the soil, let's try some stuff. Which I'm down for. They have more knowledge on it than I do, so it's a super great learning experience for me, and hopefully, like going back to that video, hopefully we were able to get the information out in a very easy to understand way, I hope. Sometimes I feel like when I'm in the middle of a video that is such a mess. In fact, I filmed a video this morning and I was like, I'm sorry, Ken, who edits our videos. I'm like, I'm sorry, this is going to be a beast to edit. Hopefully this comes together because I feel like I'm a complete mess trying to organize my thoughts sometimes, I wail into a project thinking I know the order of how it's going to go, and sometimes I'm just like, and usually it's because I'm trying to beat the light. I'm trying to rush so that I can get things done in the right kind of light because it's so one hot and so harsh. The lighting is so harsh. This morning's video that went up was the still planting in 100 plus degree heat, and the lighting was junk in that video. I watched it back and I was like, oh, I don't even want to put this one out. It looks too harsh. Yeah. And it just looks blown out, and it's tough this time of year. So to get it to look pretty, not that it needs to look pretty all the time because it doesn't. Yeah. Anyway, my goodness, that was just the first question, and I rambled for a long time. See, that's how videos go sometimes. Leslie Aiken said, always enjoy when you share your sister time with us. Have you ever considered letting a local beekeeper place boxes on the property? They tend to more pollinators. I would love that. Isn't there somebody that didn't chase? We should do that. We should have a couple boxes in the orchard. Wouldn't that be perfect? Like we could tuck them in behind the flower shed. I don't know what kind of exposure they need. But we could. What am I going to do when I'm mowing over there? Would you just let the grass go in that corner? Let it be natural. Yeah. We do have sprinklers in there. We'd have to consider that. Maybe on the outside of the orchard, like where the blueberries are. Yeah. That would be totally great. Or, you could put it where you got the honeysuckle. Is that what that is? Yeah. On the gravel right there. Or bump it over where the hollyhocks, I planted those in the flower bed where it's kind of open. Oh, yeah. We could put them there, and they would be close to everything. Right. That'd be a great location. Yes. Or by the berry beds. Yeah. Close to the neighbors on that side, but I don't think the bees are gonna. I think over by the hollyhocks, it'll be the least like in our way. Do you have to worry about being like a certain distance away from neighbors? I think that it's respectful to. I mean, I don't know if anybody's dealing with an allergy, but if we can side it away, sure. I think we should do that. Yeah. I mean, we could even put them over by the high tunnels because we're gonna probably garden that again next year. They travel. Yeah. So I mean, yeah, I think that would be a great idea. I've tried beekeeping 2 times. Hasn't gone well. I still have all of the accoutrements for beekeeping, so we could do it. I think I would need to buy new frames. They're pretty gross. I never cleaned them out after the second colony. I don't even know. Is that what they call them? We can get a new one. Get the flow hive. Yeah. Do you guys have opinions on the flow hive? I know when they first came out, there was anything massive that's popular has detractors. It's true. I don't know enough about it to have an opinion. I think there's just people out there that are like born haters. Well, this is true. This is true. Tara Goodlow said, love seeing Sister Power at work. Your flowers are gorgeous. Seeing Monica makes me really want to see her progress on her garden. Wonder if her grass is up and running. Any plans for an update video on that? Just talked about that a second ago. Yes, we do. Very soon.
Lily Faye said, do you have to be careful how you dispose of the flowers that were infested with thrips? Just thinking about what you said about them living over winter in plant material. Yeah, in a normal situation, absolutely. If you are gardening on a lot where, it's not a lot of distance from your compost pile or your burn pile, in our case, that's what it is. If there's not a great distance, then you probably want to bag anything that's heavily infested. Our stuff goes out into the middle of our new property, which is a dry field. Like there's hardly anything for them to infest on out there. And when it gets so hot, I just am kind of like, like they're just out there frying. And we do burn that pile from time to time, maybe twice a year. So it'll take care of that problem too. But definitely, if we have a spider mite issue, I don't mess around with spider mite issues. So if we have stuff that's heavily infested, we bag it and we toss it in the garbage can. It doesn't go out into any kind of pile to wait until we burn or any of that. So it kind of just depends on the insect that you are dealing with, I think. Journey Through Gardening said, just wondering if when you cut the flowers, are you getting rid of some of the beneficial mites when you throw them out? Most likely, yeah. I mean, there's just no good way to...
You can't harvest the mites.
Yeah, there's no good way to do any one task. There's pros and cons to everything, and you're gonna be getting rid of a little bit of the good with the bad, but I think it's overwhelmingly better to do that than it is to probably spray. Oni Davis said, just curious, do chickens eat flowers? Yes, they would. They would destroy flowers. So we have our chickens in an enclosed enclosure. They have an enclosed run, but it's a good sized run, and I only keep 4 hens in there because I want them to have a lot of space, and they get tons of stuff. Anything that's safe for them to eat, we put in there. Not everything, but a lot of times we put refuse in their
A lot of kitchen scraps.
A lot of kitchen scraps. Anything that's not got like butter or oil or...
Well, a lot of times you'll have like a watermelon that's not great.
Yeah. Yeah, that kind of kitchen scraps.
Or, yeah, you put it in the refrigerator and it's a little past where you want to eat it.
Yeah.
Chickens still love it.
Yeah, grains, all of that. Arnetta Albert said, I love your beautiful property and gardens. Thank you. I'm interested in the collapsible barrels you use for harvest. Where can I purchase one? We'll link it down below. They are Fiskars kangaroo. Do they call them a kangaroo pop-up bag, or do they just call them a... Yeah.
Hard shell.
Get the hard shell bottom. It is so not worth buying the ones with the soft bottom. Just like in my experience, I know we put our things through the paces, but even in our last garden, which was a fraction of the size of what we're doing now, I would blow through those bags because, you just tend to want to overload whatever kind of receptacle you have. You want to like mound it because you don't want to make extra trips.
Right.
You're kind of looking at me in a
well, it's just
smug way.
I get like inevitable text. Hey, can you just lift this into the back of the gator for me?
Yeah, I just got a little bit too heavy.
I just got a little too heavy. A little too much dirt in there.
Yeah. Anyway, the hard shell bottom is definitely a good investment.
Or you could get the soft shell and just treat it
as an annual.
Well, if you're the type of person who's kind of like a slow, methodical worker and you like take care of your stuff and don't keep things dirty, then you could probably be okay.
Do I keep things dirty?
Yes.
That's true. You know what though? I think I get more stuff done because I don't fuss about.
You for sure get more
those
stuff
details.
done more quickly.
Yeah. 408 Dolly said, I love the garlic crusher. So cool. Where can I get one? I also ordered that off of Amazon. I was looking for something that was different than the handle one, the 2-handle one that you put the clove in and then you smash it. It's so hard to clean out. You always have to get a knife out and like kind of fish out the garlic skins, and what a pain. It is a little easier because you've got your garlic cloves trapped in there, so it can't like squish out from underneath your garlic crusher. So with mine, like you have to come at it with good pressure, otherwise it just like out the side and you... Anyway, it works really well though, and it's way easier to clean, way easier. Cheryl said, off-topic question, how many times has Benjamin watched the Aquascape video of himself running the excavator for the pond build? A few times. That was definitely a highlight for him. He told everybody that he got to drive it.
Yeah. For real.
For real.
For real.
Yeah. Next video is planting complementary colors, orange and blue. I had a blue spruce, some orange echinacea, blue blooming caryopteris, and the new roses, those honey apricot, flavorette honey apricot. So we got those in the ground and they look really pretty.
I feel like Proven Winners is improving their rose line.
Well, they're expanding it largely. Is that the right
Well, I think maybe they just were like focusing on landscape roses for too long.
These are kind of like landscape roses, but they're more full cupped.
Yeah.
But they don't have to be deadheaded in order to keep blooming, which is a feature of a landscape rose, or kind of no fuss. But these were bred in specifically, what is my problem? Specifically for flavor, I guess. Emerald said, I love your tools, making me realize I need to rent that next time I decide to plant multiple Japanese maples. My tools. My auger. Yeah, augers are good to have. What is a good tool to remove mature camellia shrubs and an 8-foot Anna shrub? A truck bumper? Yep.
Yeah.
I'm scared it's going to be more than I can handle. Oh yeah. I probably wouldn't tackle that myself.
I mean, yeah, aside from like a tractor or a truck pulling it out.
Or just hire a landscaper to do it.
A mini excavator is like probably the best tool.
Yeah.
But you got to rent it. And that can rip up grass. And
I wouldn't operate that myself either. I would wait until I could
They sell really mini excavators, like really small ones. Some of them look like toys.
I still would be a little bit nervous.
Yeah.
Because then you have to worry about calling Digline and all of that stuff.
Right.
And if you hire a professional to do it, then they will handle all of that for you.
Right.
So, I mean, if it's a matter of needing to like wait until you can fit it into your budget, I would definitely wait to hire a professional. That's what I would do.
Do you remember when we first moved in here, we didn't know
we didn't know anything about
equipment or what to use. And so we ended up hiring the Shippies to bring their tractor out to pull a lot of shrubs out.
Mm-hmm. And they did.
We didn't have anything. And
it was those big privets.
Yeah.
I mean, they were giant.
They're way too big to pull out by hand.
Dead, and they're so hard. I did it, remember? I did the ones up front by the AC unit.
Yeah, you did.
And was I pregnant at the time? Or had I had Benjamin? I remember my back.
Roots?
I still had like the rib issues. I don't remember, but I remember that being a beast of a project.
Huh.
Like it tore my body up a little bit to do that. That's why I don't do that anymore. Oh, that's such hard work. Tama said, I like the blue spruce. Is there one that's even smaller that you would recommend? So there is a Cester's. Let me see what the Cester's dwarf blue spruce. Because the one that I planted, what size does it get again? Cester's probably gets about the same size. The Zafiro, let me look at Zafiro blue spruce.
Does Isley have a spruce guide?
You know, I wish that every company would do their information about plants like Schmidt does. JF Schmidt, they're a tree grower. They grow a ton of stuff. And so sometimes you want to look at all the crabapple varieties, say. I mean, they do this with all their different varieties of trees. So they have their individual page for the one variety where it's got a lot of information on it, but then you can go to this quick reference guide. I don't know if that's exactly what it's called, but it's a chart. Maybe we can toss it up on the screen that lists all their crabapple varieties with a like silhouette image of what the branches will do. So it doesn't show the leaves. It just shows like a black and white of if it's going to be, conical or round or, grow out and short. And then it shows size, flower color, berry color, whether the berries are persistent, things that's resistant to, all in one quick guide. So you can pit varieties against one another and really eliminate the ones that won't fit your space, eliminate the ones that don't have the shape that you want them to have, and all of that. And you can make your decision so much quicker. And that would be so helpful especially evergreens are tough. They're so vast. But Zafiro grows 8x6, which is that the size of the one that I grew? Let me look up it's Monty Blue. Is the one I put in. It's a hybrid between Montgomery and Hoopsai, which Hoopsai gets like 25 by 15 or something, and then Montgomery stays real small. So yeah, a Monty grows 8x6 too. There are a lot smaller ones. I don't know that they stay that cone shape for you, but they'll be more globe shape, that sort of thing, that will definitely stay smaller than 8x6. I would get on Isley's website, we can link them down below, and look in their Picea pungens section. That's a blue spruce. You can see what varieties they have. Badi said, does the water in the pond get hot, or is it deep enough that the full sun doesn't bother it?
I gotta turn off the water in the pond.
Oh, Aaron was topping it up. It's probably topped up sufficiently. How did the pond look?
Fine. It wasn't even close to overflowing.
Okay, good.
I don't think I left it on nearly as long as I thought I did.
Uh-huh.
But anyway, it was fine.
Okay.
But I'm all winded now because I was running out there.
Kayla said, you're always so wonderful to tell us all the stats for each plant. I appreciate that very much. Would you also include when to prune and when to cut them back for fall, or wait until early spring, how much to cut back? Yes, I thank you for the reminder. Sometimes I just kind of, I'm going over just the
You
general
go over that
stats.
most of the time, though.
Do I? I
think it's like
I probably
90%
forget
of the time.
some of the times, though.
Yeah. I think you mention it a lot.
See, that's where I get into kind of a mess, especially when a project spans over from one day to the next, or like even from the morning till late in the afternoon. I'm like, did I already talk about that? Have I mentioned this? I probably did. And then I just don't mention it, Yeah.
It is, I think when you mention it, it is oftentimes very cursory.
Sure.
You don't go in and are like, right here, this is the...
Yeah.
But it's so different depending on the plant.
Yeah.
And sometimes, like, if you're trying to shape it, you might go harder. Or, like, if you're trying to get better branching.
It's nuanced.
Yeah, it's very nuanced. It's like,
But
well,
there
you
are
could,
general
depending
rules.
on what you want, you could go a little more or a little bit less based on a lot of factors.
Sure. Donna said, what did you do about the black widows? Wouldn't want those to multiply in my garden. I didn't do anything about it. I think I freaked him out because I can't find any now. I've been in the pepper patch several times and haven't seen hide nor hair of any of them. I can see their webs where I noticed them at and haven't seen. So I don't know. I didn't run across any when I was harvesting the potatoes, but I wasn't really looking, to be honest. I just got in there and did it. And I wasn't really like up in the plant too much. I would kind of like knock the plant over and then dig the potatoes. So I wasn't really brushing up against the leaves. Yeah, so I don't know. They fled to new lands where they won't be bugged. Shelby said, I thought your shark was there to eat the string algae. If you get rid of it, what does he eat? Just the same food as the koi? There's enough algae in there for him to eat.
Yeah, there's always algae.
Yeah. But I think he can just eat the same food as the koi too, because where he was being housed with the other koi, at Idaho Oasis, there was no algae in their tubs for sure. So they were.
Well, you have the food. Did you just say that?
I did. Yeah.
My bad.
It's good. It's all good. Good to reiterate. Okay. Next video was my 2023 fall bulb order. It's just a video we do every single year on a hot day. I sit down and run through the bulbs that I've ordered for this fall to arrive less than half the amount of last year. Hallelujah.
Wow.
Because I love spring blooming bulbs. I mean, don't we all, when they're up and blooming? But I hate planting bulbs. There's really no part about it that I like.
Gabe and Katie said they'd come and help you again this year.
Really?
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah.
That was nice. So Gabe and Katie, friends of ours that live near Seattle, Washington, they traveled down and they were here for a few days and they helped with a bunch of the bulb planting. Like we got thousands of bulbs in with their help. It would have taken me days and many hands, definitely. It's kind of like when they were part of the crew that came down to help us with the college planting. There was no way we could have got it done that fast. That was just incredible. Anyway, so I think last year we had close to 13,000 bulbs come, and this year we're under 6. So.
And the giveaway is still going on.
Oh, is it? So 4 $250 gift cards from Color Blends.
It'll be Monday, right?
You have to enter that by commenting on below that video, that specific video on YouTube. June Kelly said, is this just for the USA? I think so. I think there's, right?
You know what? Just check. It's a gift card to their website. So wherever they ship is where, I mean, you can ship them wherever they ship.
You could win it and give it to a friend that lives in the U.S.
Just go to their website and see where they ship. And that'll tell you.
Right. Laura said, I would love to see the same video, but on your order of dahlia tubers. When do you normally order your dahlia tubers? Well, I kind of order them here and there. I don't really sit down.
You're going to need to, though.
I know. So this last year, we overwintered the bulk of our dahlia tubers.
No, you overwintered thrips, remember?
Anyway, yeah. So that's not false. The good one. So we overwintered our dahlia tubers, and about 60% return on those came back. And I do think that the stuff that we piled up, the grass, the leaves, landscape clippings, garden clippings, and straw did overwinter thrips in our garden. So
speaking of nuance, I feel like people never acknowledge when they talk about like, don't clean up your garden in the fall, all the beneficials. Well, yeah, that's true, but all the not beneficials are also overwintering in there too.
I just feel like you can't sit into one camp too hard.
Right.
And the people that do, just have a hard time with that.
Yeah. It just feels short-sighted.
Yeah, very much so. Anyway, so our experience was, 50% on the whole overwintering the dahlia tubers. I mean, at least we know it can be done. Maybe not at 100% level. And we have it's sub 400, I think, out there. I thought I had over 400 holes to plant in, but I think it's under 400. It's a lot of dahlias. I might not grow as many dahlias because I'm not growing them to sell them. I'm growing them for the enjoyment of growing them mostly and to give them away if they don't have thrips in them, and to use them in our own house. So I thought this year, because the task of digging them is it's massive. I think it's cheaper. I mean, when you rack up like labor, paying people to do that, and then just the
well, unless you were hiring people at minimum wage, which we don't do.
We don't do.
So
yeah, so it's cheaper just to rebuy. So I think I might rebuy a lot of our dahlia tubers, maybe shrink the patch a little bit and just approach that a little bit differently. And everybody does it differently. Everybody has different time constraints and not as many constraints, and it might be a chore you don't mind doing. But it's not just the digging, it's the cleaning and the separating and the storing and then getting them back out and dividing and then storing them again and then bringing them back out. And oh my gosh, it's so much work.
And then mislabeling them and wondering
why.
They're
always mislabeled. Doesn't matter who's doing it. Could be me, could be somebody else working on it. And they're always mislabeled. So it's just, it doesn't matter. If I have one labeled thinking it's going to be white and it comes up pink, it's great. I love pink flowers. So it doesn't matter that much for us. But it's still nice to kind of know what you're going to have so you know how many to order of the specific color. And it just never works out that way. Lori said, is there a better bulb variety for pots versus in ground? I haven't really experienced a difference.
There might be, because we've had experience where we've had good experience with bulbs in pots and bad.
The only bad experience is when I tried to do them and we started them in the greenhouse and then moved them out.
It was too warm, I think, in there.
That was not a good one. And some of them were in a ton of shade and some of them got more sun. When we just plant them in our containers outside, for the most part, they come up with like strength and they're just productive and robust. If I fuss too much with it and like try to attain some sort of look, an ending look, I just don't get it there.
We have noticed though that if your pots are in a position where the sun, like concrete pots, if the sun is hitting one side of the pot, then that will grow up quicker.
Like the south side in the winter, because the sun is further down in the sky in the south. And so the south side is always like real big and the north side is a little bit smaller and blooms later. Barty said, love your channel. Very inspirational. Thank you. Since we don't have a frost here in South Florida, when should we plant bulbs? You'll want to...
Christmas, right?
What?
Christmas.
Well, you'll want to refrigerate them. They need to have a certain amount of cold hours.
But if you're ordering them?
If you're ordering them and they're shipping them to you at the right time, I don't know.
I thought in the South it was Christmas.
Oh, maybe.
Then they come up.
So they'll come to you pre-chilled from the company. Yeah, that's a nice thing about Color Blends. Like we've made our order, but they won't send them to us until like end of September, beginning of October, when it's proper time for planting. So are you going to look that up?
Yeah.
I haven't really thought much about that.
I thought, well, caladiums you plant at Christmas, I think.
Yeah.
Isn't it all the same? Wouldn't you put caladiums and tulips and whatever?
Caladiums need heat.
Yeah.
Like a lot of heat.
But it doesn't get below 60 in the south.
Oh.
December, when the weather cools down.
Oh, really? Good.
Boom.
Good job. Kazi Sadman said, hi, to keep tulips reblooming every year, is it better to dig them up and store them or just cut them down and leave them potted? We were building a new house and it would be nice to have tulips blooming every year in the garden. So how you do it is you just let the tulips bloom. You don't have to dig them. You leave the leaves up, though. You want those leaves to stay up even if the plant is done blooming so that those leaves have a chance to soak in sunshine, which the leaves convert into energy and it goes down into the bulb of the plant so that bulb can revive and
probably fertilize around that time too.
Renew, so that it's got the energy to bloom again the next year. I think that's the most important step. And in fact, that's why some of our bulbs don't come back and bloom. And I know that because sometimes we have to just get rid of the foliage because we need to make way for a new project or whatever we might be doing in that area. And so I know that bulb didn't have a chance to recover or get enough sun to bloom the next year. But oftentimes they will produce leaves the next year at least, and as long as you leave those leaves up and they're in a sunny position, they will probably soak in enough sun to then kind of restart the process. But tulips aren't something that we dig. If you live in a mild climate, they might be something that you treat as an annual, though.
Like what, zone 4?
In a warmer climate.
Oh.
Yeah. Some people, even in colder climates, treat them as annuals because a lot of tulip varieties in particular are not great at coming back. Very strong. Like they'll come back, you plant 500 and they'll come back,
Menton came back really well.
There are some varieties that are good at it. Daffodils are really good at naturalizing. Denise said, do you have any do's and don'ts for getting started in a small space? With bulbs, I would say, well, one, make sure you have proper amount of light. Most of them require full sun. There are like snowdrops and some other things that can handle a shadier location. Maybe don't overcrowd them.
Plant them right side up.
Plant the bulbs the right side up. And some people say if you're not sure which way is up or down, just plant it on its side. They still won't grow that as great as if you plant them the right side up. And I mean, usually every year when we get ready to plant bulbs, I'll show you the bulbs I'm planting and which way is up and down. And you can Google it and find that information. That's really kind of key.
Yeah.
I think. Janar said, most of my garden beds are in the shade. Would I need to replant my bulbs every fall, or will some bulbs do all right in the shady areas in subsequent years? I've had a good luck with the leucogems coming back from year to year in shadier spots.
Can you plant most tulips, like in the shade? Do they have enough energy to...
they'll come up and bloom the first year.
So if you treat them as annuals, you could probably plant a lot of them anywhere.
It's probably worth experimenting with for sure. Okay, next video was... harvesting the rest of our wheat and turning it into flour. Oh my goodness, that was a process. So I hand harvested it with you guys were saying it's either a sickle or a scythe. How do you say that? Scythe.
Scythe?
Scythe?
Yeah.
Looks like scythe.
Scythe.
Scythe? I don't know. So
I used my scythe.
Yeah. Hand harvested the wheat and then kind of broke it up and did the threshing or thrashing, either word can be used there, which means just breaking it up and getting those wheat berries out of the awns at the top of the wheat head. And then you winnow it, which is removing the chaff from the wheat berry, and then you grind it. And that little gatorful of wheat, it took me like 3 different sessions. I would say... I don't know how many hours I spent on just the threshing process, but it was sort of intensive. Not hard work, like physically. In fact, I just pulled a chair up to the back of the gator and just sat there and did my thing. But it just took a while. One, because I didn't really know what I was doing. I got a rhythm after a while, but it was an amazing experience. And you guys, I have learned so much about the different types of wheat. One, from just the experience of doing it and doing my own a little bit of research, and then also from all the comments that you guys left with amazing suggestions. And a lot of you have done this before and had a really good insight. So what we grew was called Ovation, a soft white winter wheat, which is good for things they say like cakes, pastries, pasta. Somebody said it was good for biscuits, and I thought, well, those are quick to make, so I'll try doing that in this project. And then there's like hard white wheat, hard red wheat, better for bread making, and it all has to do with protein or gluten content, which soft white wheat is very low in. So I also didn't realize that when you are measuring out freshly milled flour, it measures differently than regular flour. So for every cup of regular flour a recipe calls for, you want to use 1 1/4 cup of the freshly milled. And I think that's where I went wrong with the biscuits, because the first mix of dough I did was so wet. I threw it away because I thought, well, I've never made biscuits and had it be this wet. So I tried again and it still came out the same, but I baked them anyway. They were tasty, but just a little bit heavy. I was actually surprised that they rose as much as they did. Like they were fluffy looking, but not fluffy in the center, if that makes sense. And then I thought, well, I know that this wheat isn't good for bread, but I'm going to try it anyway just to see, just to experience it. So I got my bread machine out. I did a whole wheat bread recipe, and it came out decent, heavy. The chickens got to eat it. I could have made it into toast or whatever, but it came out maybe like 2/3 to half the height of a normal loaf of bread. It just doesn't have the gluten in it required to rise that other flours do. Then I tried a pumpkin bread, which I'm going to make for you in a video, because it was
like a dessert.
It was so good and tender. And I actually texted my mom. I'm like, you have to come up here and have a slice of this pumpkin bread. So she raced up and had some, and she wants the recipe. And then my dad came up and have some. It was so good, you guys. And what I did differently in that one is, one, I did add extra flour than the recipe called for, and I sifted it, which I did not do for the biscuits. And I didn't realize when you sift that freshly milled flour, it removes the bran, which is a part, they usually remove the bran and the germ, which are 2 parts of the wheat berry. The germ is the part that will germinate and grow into a wheat plant, and then the bran is part of like the outer not husk, the outer skin of the wheat berry, I guess. So when I sifted it, I was left with this bran, like this little bit of bran at the bottom of the sifter. And by doing that, it like changed the way it worked in the recipe, and it was so, so good. Anyway, so that makes me kind of think like, well, we need to do more experimenting. Ken, who edits our videos, his wife is making some croissants, I think today. She's going to try it. And she was like, I don't know if it's going to work. I will sift the flour. She's really good at making these. And she knows that the flour required for croissants, typically you want about 13% protein, and soft white wheat usually falls between 8.5 and 10.5.
Oh.
So we're going to just see how it goes, just out of curiosity, and I'll let you guys know. But it makes me kind of want to grow a little bit of the soft white winter again, which Paul just sent me a picture and said we already have a crop growing up from wheat berries that fell in that area. And then maybe some hard red or something else that's better for bread making, a little bit more versatile. But I was happy with my mill. I bought a Nutri-Mill that ground things up just pretty quick. Yeah, I've got it right here. Can you see it already?
No.
There it is.
Yeah.
This is the machine right here, and it did a great job. And the reason I got this one is the goal, and I know some of you guys were like, I can't believe you ground up all of that flour. It's going to go rancid. Like, you're not supposed to grind it all up until you need to use it. And I did mention in the video, I was doing it just because I wanted to show you what 33 pounds of wheat berries would turn into with flour, because I wanted to know as well. We're going to blow through that flour so fast just with all the experimenting we're doing. But I did say the goal is to be able to grind the amount you need for the recipe at the moment you need it, so you get it at peak freshness. So I do know this. But that's why I bought this mill over some of the others, because it's pretty. It's a pretty unit. So you can put it on your counter and it's going to look nice. Okay. Cindy said, I wonder if you milled the wheat finer, if it would make for fluffier biscuits. I don't know if I could have cranked it down any further. Maybe a tiny bit. The machine got so hot when I cranked it down to get the finest flour that it would auto shut off. So I have it maybe a click higher, but the sifting is what makes it like down to that powder. Is that wheat genetically modified? No. In fact, I don't think that there is any. I was looking up from the National Wheat Foundation, says there is no genetically modified wheat currently commercialized anywhere in the world. So there you go. Don't have to worry about that.
Interesting. No GMO wheat.
That's what it says from the National Wheat Foundation.
That you can buy.
Well, there's no GMOs that, like, you know, we posted a sign to Andrews that said no GMO seeds here. You can't go into a retail store and buy any GMO seeds at all.
Yeah.
Like, you can't do that. And I think that there's like this huge, there's enough of a misconception about it that we posted a sign, so it just like eased people's minds about it. I think that happens with so many different things, that there's so many like
a lot of things say hormone free.
Yeah, like
on things that like have never had hormones ever.
I think that people just read headlines. I mean, I'm famous for doing that, reading a headline, and like, thankfully I don't like internalize a lot of that stuff or think about it a lot, but I think there's a lot of uneducated opinions that go, fly around. And anyway,
Oreos, gluten-free.
Gluten-free wheat. Cassie said, thank you for sharing. How long will your flour be fresh? Well, I don't know what the actual shelf life is. We're keeping it in the root cellar where it stays 45 right now. I can't fit those buckets in my fridge where it's 34. That would be perfect. But like I said, though, we are planning on working through that pretty quickly, because I just want to churn out some stuff. I want to try it in cookies to see how it goes with that.
But you don't know how long? Like, what if you can only keep it for a couple days?
It's not a couple days. How long does freshly milled wheat store? You can keep it in the freezer for up to 6 months.
That's freezer.
That's freezer.
Refrigerator.
Hold
or
on.
Room temperature.
You're looking at probably like within a week. Yeah. Freshly milled flour in the fridge for not that long, a couple weeks. So we'll get through it here pretty quick.
Like today.
Like quick. Kim said, I think someone hacked your video comments. I got a message from you saying I won on this video and had me send a message on Telegram. Was this you? No, it was not. There are scammers everywhere.
And we didn't get hacked.
We did not get hacked, no. Suzanne said, will you be keeping any of the wheat berries for planting next year? I already have some left over from last year. I brought home a huge amount last year to plant because I had no idea what I was getting myself into or how many I needed. So I like to over prepare. So I do have some seeds left from that if I'm going to go ahead with the ovation again this next week or this next year. But I do need to get my hands on some other varieties to try growing as well. Anna Range said, how did you find Bethany and Paul? Seriously, they're amazing people. I wonder if they'd be open to an interview with Laura and Aaron. I'm so curious about the pair of siblings. You know, so Paul started with us, it's been over 3 years now. We hired him just like a temporary, we needed that ranch panel fence put around the original flower garden that was just plunked right in front of our house out in the raw field. And so he came and he just put in all the T-posts, lashed the ranch panels, and he did such a great job that we were like, well, do you want to keep
more projects?
Yeah, do you want to keep working? We can keep you busy. And so it just started from there. And then I know Bethany and have known her for years now.
I was just going to say that's the best way to hire people sometimes, just to see if they're good, is just you have one project for them to do and you can really tell somebody's work ethic by just telling them I have one project for you.
Right.
And then if there's more,
yeah,
they stay.
And Bethany's been with us for I think 2 years or so now, and she's part-time. Paul's with us full-time. Bethany's here part-time, and it's worked out so wonderfully well. I mean, I don't know how we got lucky, how we lucked out with the two of them, but we did, and I'm thankful for them. Grow, Cook, Preserve with Kelly Dawn said, okay, now I need to grow wheat. If you could change anything, what would it be? Would you keep doing this? Will you grow enough to sow your own seed from year to year? I have more questions, but I'll stop there. If I could change anything, it would be to grow just enough to get a combine in here to harvest it. Because what a combine does now, if you want some nice garden ASMR, just look up some combine videos on YouTube. I watched those. It's like watching fire. You guys watching corn be harvested and wheat be harvested, and the whole process that I did that took me forever is all done really quickly inside the combine machine. So it harvests all the wheat heads. It removes all of the, like it threshes them. Are you looking up the stats of a combine?
They sell them like the size of rototillers.
What? Like what size are rototiller?
I'll put a picture on the screen. But like a large,
So it harvests, threshes, and winnows.
Well, I don't know what it does. I'm just like, I Googled small wheat combine and it looks like a rototiller, but it looks like a combine.
Send me that link.
Okay.
I might need to look into one of those for myself. Also, Bethany knows somebody that has draft horses and like an old-timey combine that harvests wheat. Sue said, who brings their wheat to your parents' store to have that completed? Farmers. So that's just the beginning of wheat. They're just harvesting right now. And so all of the bins that were in that area that I was in will be completely full, and they'll be running a lot. Like those machines will be running. In fact, I think all around the clock shifts will be opening up here soon, because it's not just wheat, it's alfalfa and clover and all of that business too. So they have a lot of work ahead of them once harvest arrives. And the last video from this week was harvesting potatoes and more onions and then making fresh garden fresh salsa, whatever. So I went out and harvested the first batch of our potatoes, more onions, though just the ones that were ready to be harvested, and then just enough stuff to make some garden salsa. And it was just it was a pleasant day. It was hot out. I mean, I was just like dripping sweat. It was hot. But it's so nice to do the harvest that way. Usually in past years, I go out and I want to get all of it done all in one fell swoop. So I want all the onions harvested all at once so we can just look at the harvest. Or I want to do all the potatoes all at once. But this is just more relaxed. It's easier on your body because you're doing things just a little bit at a time and just doing things when they're ready. It just feels like more of a natural flow. Diane said, can you use the little potatoes for seed? You can, but they don't store as long. So oftentimes, like when I get to those, if I leave them in the root cellar for too long, they get kind of squishy and like wrinkled up. I actually, when we're getting ready to clean those potatoes, I'm going to make 2 baskets for every variety. One basket will be full of the little ones and one basket will be full of bigger ones. And we'll go through the little ones first for food, for eating. And then if we have any left over for seed potatoes next year, they will probably come from the bigger potato baskets, and we'll just cut those and use them for seed. Michelle said, nothing prettier than baskets full of fresh produce. I was wondering why no cucumbers. You may have said before, but may have missed it. I do have 2 hills of cucumbers growing in our raised beds. I planted them midsummer, so it was like June, end of June maybe, and the vines are huge. In fact, I planted cantaloupe melons at the same time, and there's some, I actually should check. There's one that looks like it's about ready to be harvested, and they're full. They're loaded with melons, so the cucumbers are probably ready. We don't eat a lot of cucumbers. Aaron, do you even like cucumbers?
No.
Yeah. So the only way that I usually think of eating cucumbers is in like a Thai cucumber salad, which, we only make when we make Thai food, and that's few and far between. I don't know. It's like zucchini. Like I can take it or leave it. Deb said, how deep do you plant your onions? Those are amazing. Oh boy. So I started them from seed in the greenhouse and had them in there, planted them out as little plants, and I just plant them up enough to cover like the white part. I don't really know how deep that is. The roots are all covered and the bottom of the bulb part is covered. Tony Rice said, I harvested potatoes, brought them into the house, and they all turned green. What did I do wrong? They were exposed to too much light. That's what happens when potatoes get light. In fact, I probably should have mentioned that. Excuse me. When you have them laying out to dry, like I do in there, you want to do it like really quick. I think we're going to clean and get our store today, so it's been just a couple of days, or you want to cover them with something that's breathable. Cover them with a piece of like a sheet or something like that, so it's blocking out some light, because once they're exposed to light, they will start to turn green, and then that poison, whatever. What is it called? The green potatoes, what's the poison? Solanine, I think, is what it's called. And most of it develops like right under the skin. So anyway, if you have green potatoes, you want to like cut that green part off or discard the potato completely if it's completely green. And I did notice a few of mine have it just right on the surface where they had pushed up out of the soil and were exposed to sun. So I actually threw a couple of the potatoes away that were super green. Fluffy said, are you not ever afraid of snakes? I live in Georgia and snakes would just love to be under your vine plants. We only get little snakes in our garden, little garden snakes, so I'm not super, I don't want to come up on one. It would startle me. But I don't have a fear.
We see them as a good thing. If you've got little garden snakes.
There are rattlesnakes in our area, but they're usually like in the hills. They're not down here in the valley. Not many, anyway, that I know of. We get bull snakes, and they can get kind of big.
Yeah.
But that's rare, too.
We also don't generally have, like, a lot of overgrown foliage plants for things to hide in.
But the potatoes, that's a pretty, and those are undisturbed.
But that's it.
For months.
Around it, there's not a lot around it. It's like just the potatoes, but then on all sides of it,
dry.
It's pretty dry.
Dusty. Cammie said, don't you weigh your produce anymore? I think last year you did. I don't know if I actually did last year or not. I haven't weighed it this year either. I don't know. It's just one of those steps. I'm like, does it matter? Not really. Here are my potatoes. This is how many. You can see them on the floor. I don't know. Thoughts, Aaron?
Yeah.
Should I be weighing my produce?
Boil them, mash them, put them in a stew.
If I got like some monster vegetable, I would probably weigh it.
Well,
out of curiosity.
I think here's what it is that when you first were doing it, you were so enamored with the amount that you were growing by yourself. And then it kind of wears off. Like, yeah, I've grown that. I've grown a lot.
I guess.
Do you think that's what it was?
I don't really know.
You were just so impressed with yourself to begin with.
I don't know if I noticed a shift in.
I think that's what it was.
In it. So. Elizabeth said, grocery shopping from your garden, what could be better? I'm curious, how much impact does your harvesting have on your weekly food budget? Also, I love seeing the dirt path you walk down by your new field garden. Reminds me of my childhood adventures in the open fields. Isn't that fun? Like those nostalgic memories. Definitely use a ton of produce from our own garden. I think the fruit, like the strawberries and like that kind of thing, that's probably the biggest impact.
I don't know that it has like a huge financial impact the way that we're doing it, because we're not trying super hard to only eat from the garden. I think we could with how much you grow, and you've got the root cellar, so you do pull off of that a lot.
Yeah. I think it's definitely helpful.
Definitely has an impact. It's hard to say how big of an impact it actually is, though.
But then you have to think like, okay, so how much did the root cellar cost us to make?
Yeah, that's what I mean.
All of the things, all the tools and stuff that you buy, all of the time you put into it, you kind of wonder sometimes.
I think that people should understand that, like, for the most part, for the vast majority of the people, I'm talking like 90% or more even, should be growing things that are just like unique and that taste interesting that you can't get at your local store. But if you're trying to save money after you've paid for fertilizers and, if you're in the city and you're paying for water and...
Not that it can't be done. People can do things on, the cheap, and they can get, stuff that's definitely paying for itself.
Do you think it's more expensive in our area because we have to fertilize more?
Oh.
Do other people have to fertilize? I don't
know.
I just think
of people... If you pay for water,
like
if you live in the city and have to pay for water, it's definitely more.
Well, I just think of my grandparents, in Minnesota, and they just have chocolatey brown soil. It just looks like all the nutrients are there. It's do you even have to fertilize, But here, ours is all not chocolatey brown, it's chalky.
Chalk. Yeah, it is chalk. It's like ground up chalk.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so we can grow stuff as long as we provide it what it needs, the nutrients and stuff.
You count the chelated iron cost?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's one of those things you just have to enjoy it. And the flavors are superior in most cases. Mm-hmm. It's best to know where your food came from and what it has been fed with and what it has or hasn't been sprayed with. That's the thing, when I made the salsa, just for you guys, I put it in the sink and washed it. I don't ever do that. I don't ever wash my produce that comes out of the garden unless it's been sitting in mud because we don't
never
spray
get
it.
Sick either.
We don't spray it with anything, so it doesn't need it.
Right.
So unless it's got run with mud for some reason, it just doesn't get washed. But I knew I'd get called out if I didn't do that, so I did it.
It's just easier not to get the questions.
Yeah. I just was I'm not going to deal with this. I already, every time I cook, I get why are you using that kind of knife? Because it's my sharpest knife that I own right now. Yeah. Or why, I don't know. Cooking, just especially if you don't do it in a way that,
it's not your main thing.
It's not a professional thing, and I don't care about a lot of the things. You just do what works for you in your own kitchen, or you have your own set of flavors. We like things that other people may not like, or we don't like things that other people do like, and, I don't know. I don't like to get into that very often. And so anyway, you guys, that is it for this week's recap video. It was a really fun week. Lots of interesting projects that we worked on. And thank you, Nature's Willow, for sponsoring today's video. Again, you guys, we'll leave that link to Nature's Willow down below so you can go check out what they've got. And we will see you in the next video. Bye.